Good morning, Richard. I'm going to try to find a place to put you so that you don't fall down, but let's try. No, that didn't work. Coffee. Here I am.
Hello.
This is Nicole. She is a new EA in our program, so we're just doing some staff training. Hooray. Here we all are. Okay. So we're not going to do all of this. This is basically based on a presentation I did a couple of years ago. And what it's basically meant to do is have you look at student behavior in terms of like what its function is, so what it's doing for that kid,
Okay.
as opposed to it being sort of this like internal flaw.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
Okay, so I was doing a presentation. So this is our tree. We're on Treaty 6 territory. This is my Tim.
Okay.
He is so cute. He's not that. He's still cute, but he's much bigger than that.
Yes.
So, so Aries, do you want to stay with Mrs. J for the morning? Okay, off you go. You know where to go.
End of conversation.
I love him. So ABA is what my background is in.
Okay.
And so we'll talk to you about that one, and then we'll go into functions of behavior, and then it should hopefully make the behavior plans for these guys a little bit more clear, because they're based off of function.
Right. And everything.
Okay. So why did I go into ABA? My son has autism.
Yes.
So that's my oldest.
Okay.
And then I think it has lots of applications to us, because when we think about like what are the things that make you crazy, it's generally student behavior, that and administration. But good luck with administration. But really, like that's kind of, most of us don't get mad about kids that have trouble with their academics. They have we get mad because like they're acting like jerks. And for these guys especially, right? Like most of us don't have to be brilliant.
No.
Right? Most of us are not rocket science.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to behave
Yeah.
in a public setting, and that's often the reason why a lot of these guys are so far behind in their academics. Like if I think about Asher, Asher has never set foot in a phys ed class since grade 1. He has been kicked out of them every single time. So, and when Asher came to us last year, his mom had said that, so he was in program 1 year before he came to us. Okay. First time he's ever been in a math class. Like he was just inevitably kicked out of them. So there's sort of like, which is which? It's like, is there an issue in terms of your learning, or have you just not had an opportunity to learn?
Yeah.
And I think for Asher, it's the latter. Like he catches on to things pretty quickly when he's given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of the analogy that I use for what is the gist of ABA is that, like, if you're a gardener and you have a flower and it's not blooming, what do you fix?
Right.
You fix the soil, maybe water it, see if it's got enough, right? You fix the environment around it. And that is the analogy that I would say for ABA. We fix the environment. We do not fix the individual. Right? It is not an internal flaw. You got everybody? Okay. It's not an internal flaw. These are things that they have learned. Things that they have learned that do something for them.
Yeah.
Right? We're not born like this. We're not born calling Mrs. Linda bad names. It's things that they've learned. Yeah. And sometimes from home and sometimes from other places. Yeah. But it's a learned behavior. And if they can learn that, they can learn something else.
Yeah.
So challenging behavior interferes with their learning or the learning of others, hinders positive social interactions and relationships, harmful to self or others. Okay. When we decide that we need to do something in here, it is for one of these three reasons.
Yeah.
So a counter example that I would give to that. So we had a student who was integrated last week who came back just firing mad.
Yeah.
Because he was asked to take off his hood. And he didn't think he should have to take off his hood.
Right.
And the other individual insisted that he take off his hood. Um, you know, I don't know the reasons why
Right.
that he was asked to take off his hood,
Yeah.
but when I look at it from this, it does not meet any of those criteria.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
my opinion of this
Yeah.
is this kid now lost half a day of learning
Because of a hood.
for something
Yeah.
that is not actually a problem.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to pick fights with them. Like we're gonna have to decide what battles we choose and which
Yeah.
ones we don't choose.
Yeah.
But we choose them based on what's best for those kids, and not because of stupid, like, I don't like kids with hoods on.
Right.
Not a good enough reason.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
like
I get that. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this
Makes
said
sense.
interferes with their learning or others,
Yeah.
social interactions,
Yeah.
right?
And then
Harmful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not one of those three things. We can
Leave
let a
it.
lot of it slide.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna have enough fights in here that we don't need to pick
Yeah.
petty ones.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Makes sense.
I feel like you could probably write the book on this about what are problem behaviors.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll know them when we see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But as I said, we've got uncooperative, off task, talking back, aggression, self-injury, property destruction. Those are sort of our common ones around here and within school.
In
But as I
general.
said, yeah,
Yeah.
in general, yeah.
Yeah.
And as I said, this is sort of but it's got to go back to those three,
So three.
right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's got to meet that criteria for
Yeah.
us to,
Mhm.
as I said, if we can sort of let it slide, not all of it,
Not all of it, to a certain extent.
Yeah. picking battles is really
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
So this is from Jarek's mom. There we go. Now we have the address. I don't know if you can see that, Richard. I don't know if you can see if my text message is coming through. Behavior always serves a purpose.
Yeah.
We may not be sophisticated enough to know what that purpose is, but it always serves a purpose. So it's not random. That's, again, the basis of this, is that, and I've talked to you before about how, like, I think that Rainbow's behavior seems like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I just haven't figured out where it's coming
from.
And I may not be able to.
No.
I hope I
No.
can,
Yeah.
but I may not be able to.
Yeah.
It comes from somewhere. Once we understand what that reason is, then what we do is we put programming into place to
Right.
basically get them what they need in a
Yeah.
pro-social way.
Yeah.
But if we don't understand what it is that they
Then we
need,
can't.
then we're just sort of like throwing darts in the dark, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll hit something,
Yeah.
but
Maybe we won't. Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the basic functions of behavior. So EATS is the acronym that I use for it.
Okay.
So escape, attention, tangible, and automatic or sensory. Okay. Behavior, I said, may serve multiple functions, likely serves multiple functions.
Yeah.
It is very, at least around here, they're not siloed, right? It's not just attention.
Yeah.
It's not just escape.
It's more.
And often they're very nuanced as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so escape. This is the biggest one that we see in school. School is inherently demanding.
Mm-hmm.
We ask things of students. They don't like to do them.
No.
For multiple reasons. They behave like this in order to get out of doing what they want,
Yeah.
right? So when they run out of the classroom,
They want us. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
because we've asked them to do something. We've asked them to do their morning work. We've asked them
Yeah.
to get out their book for silent reading, whatever else it is. They run out of here. The function of that behavior is escape. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, it's very successful.
Yeah.
Right. It's worked in the past. Like you just run around the school and then you don't have to do math.
Right.
Easy.
Yeah. You wasted 40 minutes. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we've moved on.
Yeah.
So whenever we see escape type behavior, we may not ask them to do it now, but we ask them to do it eventually.
Right.
Right? You,
Yeah.
you don't get out of it. This behavior does not
not.
get you
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
doing what you've been asked to do. And we often frame it as a first then, right?
Right.
First you do your morning work, and then you get to go to phys ed.
Yeah.
Right? So it's up to you. So
Yeah.
that's Rainbow had like lost her ever loving mind on Friday, because she wouldn't do her morning work, and so I basically was like, well, I'll just wait
Right.
till you're done, and then I'll be happy to take you down to phys ed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not, you don't have to get mad at them. You don't have to right? This is
Yeah.
balls in your court.
Yeah.
Just think like, have you ever been given a speeding ticket?
Yep.
Right, me too.
Mhm.
Like just how like completely nonchalant that cop is. Where you're
Yeah.
like, do you
And
know how
then
fast
just
you're
super
going, ma'am?
pissed. Yep. Yep.
Oh, you get a miss. I get a ma'am.
Yeah.
Do you know how fast you're going, ma'am?
Yeah.
So right, it's the same thing. It's like, well, no, I'm ready to go when you are, but as soon as that's done, we'll go.
Yeah.
You don't have to nag them. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's just balls in your court, my friend.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
So if it happens in here, by definition means that something is aversive to them. They
Right.
do not like it.
No.
So if we can change it to meet the same goal that we were trying to with making it less aversive, then we will.
Okay.
But that's generally on me. That is generally my role, where it's like, you know, if I've got a bunch of kids in here that are like, bah, then that is a red flag for me to be like, what's going on with this, that none of us like it. The other thing to note in it, hey,
How's it going?
good, you?
Good.
Good.
Good. Oh, I didn't know you guys were busy. So.
Yeah,
That's okay.
all good. It's a red flag for a skill deficit. We start with the assumption that if they can, they will.
Right.
So a lot of the time, it's because they either can't or it's too hard, right? And just because we've seen them do something, so I think writing is a really good example of this.
Right.
They can all write,
Yeah.
right? Every single one of them can write, but it is so hard for them. It requires so much effort for them that they can only do it for a little bit. So it's like I can run a 10K.
Yeah.
I cannot run a marathon.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter how much you ask me to.
Yeah.
And if you make me, you will get behaviors out of me as well.
Right.
You
Makes
will
sense.
get very bad behavior.
Yeah.
So sometimes it absolutely is that they just don't want to do it. But that's a different strategy, and you have to have seen them do it multiple times and been like, no, like, you've done this. I've seen you do it 4 times independently. Then we move on to now you just don't want to. Now it's a motivation thing. But it's not this morning. Not so far. How did Ethan do? Okay.
He always does good.
Okay.
I haven't noticed the stuff that you guys talked about.
Okay, good. Well,
But he doesn't know the kids very well.
yeah, and I lied to him about you.
Yeah.
That you,
Okay.
that I told him that you have asked that he come to phys ed every day because he's a good role model for the other students. Okay, good. So well done, Mr. Young. Yeah, once we've seen them do it, then it's a motivation issue.
Okay.
But until then, it is often a skill deficit.
Right.
So, and then that means, again, we gotta teach them.
Yeah.
That's what they're here
For sure. Yeah.
for. Do I have I don't think this YouTube video is very funny, so I don't think we're gonna watch it. Attention. We see a lot of this in here. A lot of these guys are,
Wanting the just lacking.
this is Asher's MO.
Yeah.
Asher is the loneliest little boy you've ever seen in your life. So when he gets here, think of it sort of like hunger, right? Like, it's a basic human need.
Yeah.
And so when he comes here, he doesn't really have the social skills to be able to behave appropriately.
Right.
So he just sort of joins in with whatever is going on.
Right.
And you can't really have him not engage in that social behavior because it's like putting food in front of a hungry person. You're just going to do it.
Yeah.
So he also, again, we'll get into Asher stuff, but he's a good example of attention. Is that he really needs this.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the skills to be able to do it appropriately, and
yeah.
he also has massive social anxiety. Like, he cannot walk into a classroom without like looking like a caged animal.
Right.
So therefore, it's a really hard thing to do. Where, like, we want to get him friends, we want to get him peer like groups,
Right.
but he has that social anxiety. He doesn't really have the skill set to do it.
Right.
So when we can, especially with him, attention is like anytime you can sit down and just tell him what a great job he's doing. Ask him about whatever. So he does really well one-on-one, especially with grown-ups. He does better one-on-one with peers, not great. But anytime he's one-on-one, he's okay. The other thing that often people get wrong is beggars can't be choosers. All forms of attention are necessary, so good or bad,
Yeah.
right? And often these guys are used to negative attention. They're used to
Right.
attention
'Cause
where
that's
like
how
you're
they-
getting
yeah.
yelled at.
Yeah.
And I said, attention is attention.
Yeah.
And I've had this fight with my husband now, lots, where it's like, well, they don't like it when I yell at them. It's like, well, them liking it is not really the factor here.
Yeah.
It is giving them what they're communicating that they need.
Yeah.
So just because it is not a positive interaction doesn't make it not attention.
Right.
They still have, like, that's why Phoenix runs away.
Yeah.
Right? He runs away because he drags you with him, and now he's got your full one-on-one attention. Even though you're kind of giving him crap and you're
Yeah.
giving him,
Whatever.
it
But
still
you're-
serves that
yeah,
function.
Yeah.
So knowing that, that's a big one, because this one's a big trap, especially in school, because there's like, when Rainbow runs away, we can't just leave her. We can't just ignore that behavior. It's not safe.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a trap, because like they got you.
Yeah.
Phoenix is very successful in this. It's
Yeah.
like, I run away, I run into the primary end, you follow me, now you're with me. So I said, we got to do the best that we can. Safety always trumps this.
Oh, everything. Yeah.
Yep. But when you're looking at attention-based behaviors, if you do have to follow them for safety, it is like, again,
Yeah.
mall cop.
Yeah.
Doesn't like, don't care.
Yeah.
I often like to have a book on my phone, because if it's attention-based behavior and I've got to wind up sitting with him for a little while, it's hard to just sit there.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to just sit there and not get get a little mad.
Yeah.
So I just put a book on my phone, and then I'm just, again, reading my book.
Yeah.
With these guys also, I know I'm sort of all over the place right now, but if they are, again, a Phoenix and they have run away,
Yeah.
and they're dysregulated, most of them are able to tell you when they're
Ready to
to communicate again. Because that was one thing I got myself in trouble with Asher last year, is because he would calm down, and what I thought I was doing was, when that calm down happened,
Yeah.
I would start talking to him to be like, oh, good job, good calm down, but then he would just like
skyrocket again.
fire right back
Right,
up.
right.
And I was like, I don't really know when the right time to engage is. And then again, it was Richard who was like, let them tell you. Just say, like, you let me know when you're ready to talk. And
Yeah.
sit there until
Yeah.
they're done. And it might be a lot. Like, I
Yeah.
sat here with Phoenix all afternoon one day. Like, the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Started at 12:30. I think it ended at about 2. So you might be in for a shift.
Yeah.
So having a book on your phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
might
Just- yeah, 'cause
might
I
help you
scroll
ride that
Facebook
out.
for so long.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So not often occurs when specific individuals are present. So Phoenix likes my attention. He and I are best friends.
Oh, okay.
Best friends on. So he will do what he can to basically drag me out of the classroom.
Right.
Generally not location specific. So again, he'll do it in Fed, he'll do it here, he'll do it. So it's the
Okay.
attention of those individuals that he wants, not
Right.
it's not that he's trying to get out of phys ed. It's not
Yeah,
that he is
just
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, think about it like being hungry, right? So the other thing that we try to do, especially this again we saw with Rainbow here, if we can give them, especially when they're regulated, lots of attention, it's like having little snacks throughout the day. Then all of a sudden you don't have like the proverbial hunger where it makes you behave, so you get attention. So if you get attention constantly, then you don't get the equivalent of hangry
Right.
for attention.
Right.
So this is a office sketch.
Oh, okay.
Jim was a attention-based behavior.
Oh, yeah.
He's bugging Dwight. Tangible. So this is a thing or doing something in a particular way. So rigidity is often what we would call it. So wanting it to be done this way.
Right.
So rigidity, like, so this is my James.
Yes.
Likes for things to be done a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Likes, right? And when we move from the routine,
then we're yeah.
that. So this is a tangible. We don't have that much of that in here right now.
Okay.
So other examples of it, you probably would have it more in when you're in kindergarten. So like taking the toys away, if they have an iPad, like taking that iPad away, that kind of stuff is all tangible based behavior.
Yeah.
As I said, we don't see a lot of it
Right.
around here. We have a little bit of rigidity with Rainbow, but she's doing pretty well right now in terms of like she follows the class or she follows the routine.
Yeah.
She does a good job of that. So if this comes up, this is a function. It's not one that right now we deal with very much. So we're going to kind of move on from it.
Yeah. Deal with it when we.
Yeah, and as I said, like if you went back to kindergarten, that would be something that we would need to discuss, and because that is a big function.
Yeah.
But it's just not
No, not for us.
not with these guys.
Yeah.
Last one is automatic or sensory. So this, we all have these. Every single one of us has these. This is something that you do because basically it feels good in your nervous system.
Yeah.
So I pick my nails.
Oh, okay.
Nervous habit. Some
Yeah.
people twirl their right. So one way to notice this, that's the easiest way they will do it when there's no one else around.
Yeah.
Right? They just do it because it feels good. If there's a skill deficit, they often will do it then because it fills the void.
Right.
Right? Like I can always twirl my hair. So if I'm bored in math class,
I'll twirl
I can twirl my hair anytime I want.
Yeah.
It's always available. May occur more when we're under stress, right? So it's again, lots of times, at least for me, like my big ones, it's what I do for when I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
Again, good indicator is what happens when no one else is around. If this is an issue, then because they're very hard to deal with, because you always have access to them, right? It's not, and I can't really fill that void for you very easily because you're filling it for yourself.
Yeah.
So if we see automatic or sensory behaviors, oh, this is Sydney. Okay, excellent. Rainbow's dad treated her lice.
Kind of figured.
Thank goodness. Again, for us right now, we all have them.
Yeah.
So they have to meet the definition of a problem behavior before we deal with them.
Right.
Right. So again, as of right now, so I would argue maybe some of Ethan's behaviors are maybe the automatic, just because it's just fun for him, right?
Yeah, right.
It's just fun for him to bug other people.
Yeah.
So it's for him, it's probably a attention and sensory type combination of things.
Okay.
Richard and I are going to talk about Ethan and about how because I don't really know, if someone just really likes to bug other kids, what do you do about that?
I know.
I don't know. Right? It's just fun for him, and I can't be with him every second of every day. So
No.
what is the skill deficit there, and how do we teach it?
Right.
So again, those are our major functions of behavior. We deal mostly with escape and attention.
Yes.
That is the big ones that we deal with.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard, this is such a long time. I don't know if you want to keep watching, but I'm going to stop you now because you're not going to watch anyway.